Welcome to the Craft of Coaching podcast, where we dive into what it truly takes to become a skilled, confident life coach. I'm your host, Kate, head of the CLCC, or Certified Life Coach Collective, an ICF-Accredited Level 1 coach training program. We combine courage, coaching, and community to offer you more than just a training program, but a life-changing experience where you use your own personal transformation as the learning ground for supporting your clients. On this podcast, we explore how you can use coaching skills to support your clients or expand your own growth, all grounded in evidence-based coaching practices. Learn more about our program and get free resources for becoming a life coach at teamclcc.com. And now, here's today's episode. All right, today's episode is going to be short and sweet, but it was a response to a query that someone in the CLCC program had about the difference between working on your business versus in your business. And when I started the Craft of Coaching podcast, I was very clear that I did not want it to be a marketing-focused podcast, and that is still true. I want this podcast to focus on the craft of coaching, and marketing is not where I want to spend most of my time. But I do think that with this podcast encapsulating so many of the different aspects of being a coach, we've got to talk about marketing sometimes. And that's why I've, had strategic marketing podcasts and talking about ways that we approach our business, including a commitment to marketing. That's all essential. Because if you don't make certain choices, you may not actually have a business. But one of the graduates of the Certified Life Coach Collective, or CLCC program, asked me to specifically explore the difference between working on your business versus in your business. And I thought that would be a great idea because there is a difference between the two, and often people will get stuck in one particular space. So let's start with working in your business. What is that? Well, that consists of the day-to-day stuff: reviewing a proposal, responding to client emails, planning a curriculum. I'm thinking of proposals and curriculum as being very, organizational coaching. Reviewing client notes, recording podcast episodes, or creating content. That's working in your business, and it's important work, and it keeps things running day to day. Working on your business is different. This is where you step back and you take the 10,000-foot view, the metacognitive view. And that's when you go, what do I want to create this year? What's inefficient or out of alignment with my values? What do I need to stop doing? What are the ways in which I hold myself back? Where do I get uncomfortable with visibility and I need to stretch into that more? So working in your business, I really think of as execution, and working on your business, I think of as pulling back and taking a look at the bigger picture of where your business was, where you are today, and where it's going. I will tell you that this is something that I do every single Sunday. I have my favorite Sunday routine. All right, I'm going to tell you about it. So first of all, I don't do caffeine on a daily basis anymore. I used to, but it really was interfering with my sleep, and which is nuts because I would cut myself off from caffeine at like 9 a.m, but then I would still find that I was on a caffeine high at like 9 o'clock at night. I guess I'm really sensitive to it. I don't know. I love the taste of coffee, so I still have decaf Monday through Saturday. But on Sunday mornings, I get up and I go to my favorite little donut shop and I get a half dozen donuts and I get myself a coffee, a real one. And normally I also would not eat donuts for breakfast, but Sunday morning, baby, that's where it's at. I do all of this at like 5:30, 6 in the morning because I get up at 5 a.m. My kid is still asleep. My husband is asleep. The world is really quiet. I listen to like motivational podcasts, the really cheesy ones where they like splice together 10 different motivational speakers and like the highlights from those speeches. Love it. Okay. I get it. It's kind of embarrassing, but I love it. The dogs are with me. I go and I get my donuts. I get my real coffee. I come home, world is still quiet. I have coffee, I have donuts, and I sit down and I literally strategically evaluate my past week. And then I look and I see what my priorities are for the coming week. And then I look at a big picture view of what my goals are for the entire year for my business and how that translates to the quarter. Because the way I look at goal setting is there's where I want to be a year from now, and then each quarter needs to show progress towards getting to where I want to be a year from now. And so then we pull it back even more, and I look at each month, what am I doing? And I pull it back even more, and I look at each week, what am I doing? So essentially, time to spend strategically evaluating all the areas of my business. I look at marketing, I look at content creation, I look at leadership, I look at finance, I look at, and I'm not looking at leadership just from the perspective of like, how am I showing up as a thought leader? Never loved that term, by the way, but you know what it means, so I'll use it. But how am I showing leadership through my work, but also how am I showing leadership through managing my team? And I start asking myself these sorts of questions. What's inefficient? What's out of alignment with my values? Where am I compromising? What do I need to stop doing? What do I want to start doing? What would inspire me more? Now, I have a couple of tools that help with this. One of them is, I've mentioned before, I promise I'm not trying to sprinkle this into every podcast episode, but it does come up. I'm the creator of the Coaching Blueprint program, which you can find at coachingblueprintprogram.com. And a lot of the questions that I ask myself on a regular basis are in that program. I transfer some of those questions to a business planner that I have used for a few years now. It is the Daily Greatness Business Planner. This is like a $70 business planner, but when you see it, if you get it, you'll know what I'm talking about because it literally maps out the annual goal setting process. It gives you space to set your business vision, your marketing vision, my personal growth within my business vision. It gives you space to track your progress from quarter to quarter, month to month, week to week, and day to day. And it also populates check-ins every single week that are asking you these questions, these working in your business visioning questions. And I love it because it keeps me accountable. When I'm planning for the year, I start asking questions like, what are my quarterly goals? What are my annual goals? But then how's that going to break down by quarter? What training does my team need to continuously up-level their skill set? What documentation or SOPs do I need to create so that my virtual assistant is able to do her job more effectively? And these are the types of projects that I invest in because they pay off over time. And when I started this podcast episode and I said sometimes people get caught in one or the other, working in on their business versus in their business, what I mean is that often people can get so caught up in the day-to-day. Oh, I got to get this Instagram post out. Oh, I got to respond to that email. That they don't always pause to go, what's the vision here and how is my business continuing to evolve towards that vision over time? One of the big red flag phrases for me that I monitor very carefully is whenever I feel like I don't have time for the working in my business, the vision part, and I'm really busy with the tasks, the red flag phrase for me is, I'll just do this real quick. It'll only take a minute. That phrase, when I am putting off getting to the visioning, will get me stuck working in the business, uploading files, tweaking back-end systems, writing summaries, when in fact the business would actually have a greater ROI if I'm creating strategy or thinking about the next evolution of how I'm going to support my clients or the different audiences that I serve. Those quick tasks can eat up hours. And I share that with you because I think that is one of the things that happens. You're really busy with a lot of different things to do. You're not sure how you'll get it all done. You know that you need to spend these blocks of time doing something that's bigger picture, but you tell yourself, oh, I'll just do that real quick. It'll only take a minute. Now, I try to help with this in the Coaching Blueprint program. If you're juggling work, parenting, work as in a full-time salary job or like a bread and butter job, parenting, and a coaching business, there's a module in the Coaching Blueprint program called 4-Hour Marketing. And I created that module based on my own experience when I was running a business without anyone on my team, when I was juggling a bread and butter job and a coaching business and everything else, and just trying to figure out, like, how do I do the bare minimum for marketing? Because that's not where I want to spend my time. And what are the essentials and how long will they take? And I found that I could get my marketing down to 4 hours a week. So if that is something that is of interest to you, I do recommend that module inside the Coaching Blueprint program at coachingblueprintprogram.com. Another thing that I've needed to learn about this difference between working on my business versus in my business is that I need to remember that stress is optional. That task that you have on your plate, it's not going to take any more or less time whether you're calm or anxious. I mean, think about that for a minute. There's this way in which it feels overwhelming to have so many things to do to get the basic infrastructure of your business going that it seems kind of endless. And I do get that. But you have to remember, you build it, you put it down. The stress is optional. It's a choice at a certain point to keep ruminating on, oh my God, and then there's this to do and there's that to do. So it's to work in your business versus just on your business. There also has to be a mentality of, I've got the time I've got. I can be stressed about the fact that I wish I had more time, or I can accept the time I have and use it well and let that be enough. Because at the end of the day, it is enough. Again, I'm sitting here and I'm telling you that I, in the early days of my business, spent 4 hours a week on marketing and made it happen. It is a thing that you can actually do. The stress part is the part that so often keeps us in this kind of overwhelm around getting a bunch of tasks done and then neglecting the bigger picture. Now, I said this episode would be short and sweet, so I'm going to start to close it out, but I have one final thought. In the early stages of your business, it's normal you're likely to spend more time working in your business on those tasks than you want to. Maybe you're listening to me talk about spending time on the visioning part, and you're like, yeah, that sounds amazing. I would love to stop writing newsletter copy right now and just be in this expansive, what would I love to create? Got it. That's okay. But nonetheless, you will need to invest that time and make that time for visioning. Don't let anyone pressure you, by the way, into a fast scaling, big spending business model. Don't let anyone pressure you into building a team before you're ready. I actually think there's a lot of value for you in learning the day-to-day of how every single task is done and learning how to maximize efficiency in getting that task done. Because then when you do build a team and you do start to scale, you will be able to easily train the people that you bring in your methodology for getting it done. And you're going to know what the most efficient approach is. They're not going to have to figure it out on their own. You'll be able to write an SOP or some kind of document for a process or protocol that will save them time because you figured out how to save that time. It's also going to be a time for you of creating systems that reflect your values. I think farming out your business and its processes too quickly to outside sources ends up biting you later. Then as your foundation solidifies, you will be able to hand things off confidently and sustainably. So I know that this is not the longest podcast episode in the world. We're not going into a ton of depth, but I wanted to give you that overview of how to work in your business as well as on your business and talk about the importance of making time for both. The getting things done day-to-day tasks are important, but so is your bigger business vision. All right, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Before you go, would you help us out and take a moment to give us a rating in iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you're listening? It really helps us get the word out to other listeners. And before you go today, would you like free resources to support your coaching journey? Whether you're considering becoming a coach or you want advanced coach skills training, Access our coaching resource library at teamclcc.com. Again, that's teamclcc.com. Can't wait to connect with you. And again, thanks for listening.